I absolutely love all of the eating the rich TikToks happening right now, but I'm seeing a lot of middle class things being listed, so I have a question. What's the most insane actual rich person behavior that you've experienced? Because mine is when I heard the mom of this family say, "Oh, I absolutely hate vomit. When my kids threw up on their bed or on their mattress, I just threw out the mattress and bought a whole new one." What?
So I lived in Saudi Arabia for a minute, and my friend is a prince, right? And he asked me to come over to his house, literally in castle, but it's fine. And I go over, and his front yard has like pet cheetahs, pet leopards, all that. And I literally had to be embarrassing and say, I have a cat allergy. Anyways, so I would try to go into his house, and he's like, no, that's our parking structure. Literally 4 stories high, but it's okay. And then whenever he would want to meet a famous person, he would just pay them, and they would meet him in Dubai. So
this is I'm a Nanny for Japanese Millionaires Part 9. No one's gonna believe this story, but when I get fired or if I quit, I'll post receipts. Anyways, here I go. The girl likes to do random things, and the mom literally lets her do whatever she wants. And one day she's like, I want to make a garden. And at their big house, they have a really nice garden, but they have a gardener who like tends to it, and she doesn't want her like messing it up. So then the girl like looks over next door, and next to their house there's like this apartment building, and behind the apartment building there's like this plot of land, and she's like eyeing it out, and she's like, I want to make my garden there. And I was like, you can't make a garden there, that's like not your house. So she goes, I'm gonna ask my mom. So she asked the mom, like, Mom, I want to make my garden behind that apartment building. So the mom's like, okay, hold on. So the mom calls the Fudosang, which is like the people who run the building for the owner, and she's like, I want to buy that plot of land. And they're like, oh, we're not selling the plot of land. So she bought the whole fucking building and the land. Can't make this up. So this is I Nanny for Japanese Millionaires Part 5. So the girl I nanny for tells the mom, I want to get an iPhone. And the mom's like, no, you're 7, I'm not buying an iPhone. And she's like, fine, then buy me an Apple Watch. And the mom's like, what's that? She's like, it's just a watch. So the mom's like, okay, how much is it? And the girl's like, I don't know, like $500. So the mom gives me like $1,000, and she's like, can you take her to go get an Apple Watch? And I was like, okay. And then the girl's like, oh, Mom, actually, the Apple Watch has a walkie-talkie function, and I want to do it with Jake, so buy him an Apple Watch too. And the mom's like, okay. And I was like, no, that's like really too much, like I can't accept an Apple Watch, they're like really expensive. And she's like, how much are they? And I was like, I think they're like $300 to $500. And the girl's like, no, I want a Series 6, the new one, they're like $600 or something. And I was like, yeah, they're way too expensive. And I was like, here. So she gives me another $1,000, and I was like, no, I really can't accept it. And she's like, oh, stop, it's not even that much, just buy it. Yeah, so now I have an Apple Watch, and I don't know.
As a teenager, I worked with my mom's good friend who was a professional organizer. That experience is so valuable to me as a housekeeper. But she told me when we were going to one of her clients, do not make her think that anything she's doing is extravagant. So we walk into her mansion. She's having her chandeliers installed that day. Both her children have their individual nannies. She has a private chef. She did not work, but she had an assistant. Her assistant made enough money to where her assistant had an assistant. She wore a $5,000 tracksuit. As it turns out, she was moving into this mansion as a temporary holding spot for her dream mansion that was being built. Upon working with her, I realized that she legitimately did not know that poor people existed.
So one time I was talking / hooking up with this guy who lived an hour and a half away, and I would drive there. It wasn't really that big of a problem, but he would refuse to drive down for me, and I'd be like, what the fuck? But he only refused because he had 2 fucking planes, and he was like in flight school. So one night he wanted me to stay over, and I was like, no, I can't, like I'll just drive home. And he pulls up this app on his phone where finds the nearest airport. There's a small airport in my town, and he's like, oh, well, it'll only take a 10-minute flight. I'll fly you down in the morning, and I'll have somebody drive your car down. And then I was like, well, I don't have any of my stuff. And he was like, I'll send somebody to the store to buy whatever you want. I still think about him.
Rich people in country clubs. I don't mean like the little golf course in your neighborhood. I mean country clubs. Applications to these like really exclusive country clubs are insane. When they say it's all about who you know, it is all about who you know. There's this one club where like their old policy was that for every month you were on the waiting list, you needed a new member to handwrite you a letter. We had a friend on the waiting list for 6 years. That means he had to meet 72-ish or more members who would handwrite him letters. Another person really needed the approval of like the founder of the club, and so you had to play 9 holes of golf with him. And the secretary called like randomly one day and was like, this guy is free at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. But he's in Montana. So our friend literally flew out to Montana to play 9 holes of golf with this one guy. And when he left, the guy says, just tell people I have a favorable opinion.
Oh my god, I gotta tell this story. I accidentally ended up dating someone who was filthy rich. I met him at Caesar's Palace while I was working retail there. I had no idea he was rich. He just seemed like a normal guy to me. He asked me out. On our first date, he dropped over $10,000 on clothes for himself from Louis Vuitton and 3 pairs of shoes from Gucci for me. We dated for like a span of maybe a month and maybe went on 3 dates in that entire time. Never hooked up. And in that time, he offered to buy me a car, which I rejected. He offered me $10,000 cash if I quit my job so he could hang out with me one day. I rejected. And then he bought me a house in a gated community in Summerlin. It literally was the only house that was built on a lot. He showed me the inside, handed me a key, and told me I had an unlimited spending limit on furnishing the house for myself and to get whatever I wanted.
My dad is one of the richest men in Nigeria, so growing up as a child, different world leaders used to have meetings with my dad in our house. One day I met Barack Obama in my living room and he asked me if I knew he was going to become the next president of the United States. I just laughed and ran back to my room. He was still a senator then. My house in Nigeria has a massive helipad and every member of the family has a private helicopter there. Every girl I dated in high school had to sign a prenup just in case we got married by accident. I have never been on public transport in my life and that's something I would want to do at least once in my life. One day my dad saw a homeless man with a lottery ticket and he paid him the maximum amount as if he had won the lottery. My dad said he was just trying to teach us kindness. My brother once dated Rihanna.
Okay, I'm still shocked by this, but like 2 weeks ago, I made an account on Seeking Arrangements, and I put my location as Toronto, Canada, and I'm from Vancouver, trying to scam some people. On Seeking Arrangement, there's this store thing, and you could add stuff from the store to your wish list. So of course, I put the most expensive stuff from the store on my wish list. And literally this old man bought me $1,000 Gucci shoes without even messaging me like, hey, hello, or anything. And at first I thought it was a scam, but 2 weeks later they arrived to my house. Okay, here they are. They're beautiful. I can post the receipts and I can show you guys the shoes. Just let me know in the comments.
I used to work at this nightclub, and one night this guy came in and he said, you're way too nice to be working here, you should quit. And I said, I can't afford it. And he said, okay, I'll give you $20,000 cash if you walk out right now. So I walked out, he gave me $20,000 cash, and then he drove off and I drove home.